Hello? Hello?
Hey everyone, KIC here, and this is the first impressions video of Blackguards 2, the new strategy RPG put out by Daedalic Entertainment. And I apologize guys if Daedalic is not correct because it's been a while and my German is a little bad and I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce your company's name. So, a couple things I got to say straight off the bat here. One, this copy of the game was provided to me, so do know that. I have to divulge that, and I don't have any problem doing that. And I also don't have any problems telling you that no particular requirements have been placed on me. So what I'm telling you is my actual true honest opinion. If you want to maybe question that, by all means do so, that is your right. But go ahead and check out my review of the Razer Blade 2014, and that'll kind of give you an idea of the sorts of things I'm looking at and what I am and am not afraid to say. And in that case, let me tell you, that laptop, super hot to the point that it's kind of dangerous. So, here we are. This is, as I said, a strategic role-playing game. I'm just kind of clicking along right now because we're in the part of the game where this is really the tutorial, and you're just kind of seeing the stuff that is going on in the background, the storyline stuff, where you just kind of sit and read and listen, that sort of thing. Basically the main character here, or main character at this point, since I believe you will get additional characters at some point, Cassia here has been tossed into what is essentially a prison, and she's going to die by some sort of horrible death that I don't really want to spoil too much for you, but it's basically that's what she's being told. So I'll just kind of click through a little bit of this here. Just again, I'm trying to give you a little bit of flavor of what's going on. You can see that you have a lot of stuff going on here. You kind of got the spiders hanging around, got a lot of lighting effects. This is a really dark game, and I kind of say that from both the palette choices as well as the content of the game. I actually skipped through the opening video, which, while short, does have a bit of language that I generally try to avoid on this station, and also is really disturbing and probably not something, well, you'd want your kids to see. So I know I'm not necessarily playing games that are kid-friendly, but I do try to maintain some semblance of that. So we're going to go ahead and jump into what is the first battle of the game. Now, if you're new to the Blackguards series, this obviously is the second game in the series, then you might not be aware of how it works. Now, I'm going to go ahead and tell you this is my first play, or my first experience with this whole game, so a lot of these things are kind of new to me. When you first jump in, you're going to get some tutorial stuff, so I do suggest go ahead and read that if you're unfamiliar with the system. If you are familiar with the system, then chances are you know what to do. I'll give you the quick overview. Hold down V. That's going to highlight these rings over here. That's where you want to go. The area here that is within the blue, that means you can move there and still perform an action. The area in the white or the gray means you can move there, and that's it. You cannot perform an action. There's not enough action points remaining to do that. Obviously, we're playing on a hex field. That means that, yes, this is indeed a strategic game. So double click to go, basically click once to kind of activate an area, and then click again to move. Now we have a bunch of spiders. They are dropping in from the ceiling, and I kind of have a couple ways I can play this. One, I can kind of be a jerk, and two, I could just kind of play it straight and see what happens. I'm going to be a jerk. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. I think if I do this, 1, 2, 3, 4, the spider can't hit me. So we'll go ahead and let him move, and look at that, he can't hit me. Now, I still have an action because I was within that blue area, so I'm going to go ahead and bash the spider in the head with my club, and now I'm going to go ahead and move again. 1, 2, 3, 4, so I'm going to move back this way. So I'm on a new turn. I'm going to wait. I'm still within my blue area here. We'll let the spider get nice and close, and then I'm going to smash it in the head with my club here. So smashy, smashy, and now I'm going to move again because I'm a jerk. So that looks like a good spot over there. I think I'm actually... yeah, I chose actually a bad spot. I'm not going to be able to attack him. That's okay, because I got a new turn. I get my move back. I didn't need to wait until, or I didn't need to use the end of my turn to do that. So I'll go ahead and move the lever here. Now something I'm going to show you, and I'm just really trying to get the battles out of the way primarily here, and I'm going to get attacked. I suppose I could have maybe moved from the lever from here and I might not have been hit. I'm not entirely sure. but just kind of showing you how you can kind of play around and take things, use them to your advantage, like moving around. This is the first battle of the game. There's not particularly any point, as far as I can tell, to not get hit. Maybe it does add up at some point in the game. I really don't know. That's kind of the fun of exploring and finding out what things matter and what don't when the devs tell you things matter. So I'm going to run back this way because I did pass up something on the battlefield here. Again, this is considered a battle, even the running around point of it. So we have this big crate here. Going to smash that because that'll give me access to a chest over here, which I can open. And look at that, nice and shiny, bright. There's nothing in it. Well, there is technically something in it, but you don't get it until the end of the battle. It would be nice to know that in advance. They didn't tell you that. They'll tell you that at some point. They'll actually tell you that in just a minute, but they don't tell you that up front. Really annoying, really kind of wrong, and kind of made me angry a little bit. Now, one of the other things that kind of stinks while I'm kind of griping a little bit is the camera system. I understand they make choices. It works best for them. It works best for the setting they want to, or feeling, setting, etc. they're trying to establish. But all this moving around you're seeing I'm doing right now, that's the extent of your camera choices. You don't really get to zoom in. You don't get to zoom out. You don't get to rotate. You don't get any of that. You basically change your angle up, down, and that's it. So here we are at the end of the dungeon, going to get the reward. So 1000 AP, a shabby belt, and again, a little more tutorial stuff. Go ahead and take time to read that if you're not familiar with all of it. And then these are the bonus items for opening the chest. So open the chest, get a couple bonus items, in this case 2 chests, 2 items. We'll go ahead and take all and move on so we can continue moving the story along as I kind of fill you in on a little bit more of the kind of good and bad things about this game. Now, as soon as we are out of this menu here, I'm going to show you something, well, menu discussion, that has kind of been annoying me a little bit, and I don't know if there's a fix incoming or not. As far as I can tell, this was a problem in the original game based on a very, very brief thread that I looked at, but I'm going to show you something here. Now, this is the options menu. I am running this game at its maximum settings. Do check out the description of the video, again, for some important information, links, as well as my system, so you can kind of compare if you want to just kind of take a gander at what you're seeing on screen with what I'm playing with and give you an idea of just kind of what to expect. Now, I have, like I said, everything up at the maximum, but here's the thing that's not. Resolution. Notice that goes up to 2560 by 1440. My monitor's native resolution is 1440p, and I'm playing at 1080p. Now, that's not because the game doesn't run well at 1440p. That's not it at all. The game actually runs really well at 1440p, and quite frankly, it looks pretty good. I think it looks like a pretty nice, dark, disturbing sort of game, which is really kind of what it is. The problem is when you're playing at 1440p, the text, and that's kind of why I'm doing all this right now, to show you, while it looks good here, it looks really bad at 1440p. I don't know if they didn't include a proper font file that's in high res, if somehow the anti-aliasing is not turned on for 1440p. Something is wrong, and it makes it a real pain when you look at this game. There's a lot of text going on, so I hope that's something that the developers are able to take care of sooner rather than later. Now, I'm just going to kind of show you a little bit more here. Yes, she is a little disturbed and talking to herself. She has a collection over here. So again, more tutorial stuff, and apparently has a variety of equipment over here, which I'm going to go ahead and take. So can I go into an inventory now? Yes, I can. All right, good deal. It took me a while to figure this out. Apparently you can't change your inventory, your equipment when you're in a battle. Maybe I'm wrong on that. I'm not 100% sure. But I didn't know I was supposed to hit the weapon set buttons in order to do things. And I could have sworn every time I dragged that belt over there, nothing happened. But in each instance, I was actually in a battle. So that might be why that wasn't working for me. So I'm going to go ahead and get myself set up with a spear and a club. I probably won't use the club. And in fact, you know what? Just to mix it up, because I've long been a fan of knives, I'm going to go ahead and set myself up with a knife instead. Now, if you hover over the weapons, it does give you a little bit of more information in terms of the damage and the penalties and bonuses you'll receive. In the case of the club here, the cudgel, You do lose an initiative bonus, but the knife gets you an initiative bonus, you don't lose the bonus, you get a penalty. The knife gives you a bonus. The spear has a bit of a penalty, but it has a good reach. So we're just going to go ahead and roll forward with that. I'll talk to the guard again, just kind of giving you a little bit of flavor of what's going on in here. And then we're going to go ahead and just jump into the next dungeon because that seems like the more important thing. You guys can always check this stuff out later when you're playing the game yourself, or if you're watching another Let's Play, you can get a little bit more of that. So we're just going to go ahead and load up the next battle here. And I was intentionally quiet there for a moment because if you were paying attention, you'll notice that the narrator was talking and all of a sudden was cut off by the in-game narrator, which I guess that's because it's a loading screen. But I do find that a little strange, but really, not a problem. It's neither here nor there. Now, you know what I should do, and I'm not going to because I already ran up, is I should have hit that from back here. Because if I would have, that would have put the spider in just the right spot where it couldn't hit me. But that's okay. I don't really mind getting hit because there are healing pawns, whatever these things are called, around the map, so it's really not going to be an issue. Now, in this one, we're kind of introduced, this dungeon, I should say, we're introduced to traps. So you saw the spikes just kind of drop down there, and we have some fire going on over here that's going to play a pretty fun role in just a moment. Because, again, remember, this is a bit of a strategic game. Now, in the early kind of missions here, the early tutorial phase, it's maybe not the most strategic game in the world, but you can still have fun with it. And really, why do we play games? It's to have fun. Well, maybe that's not why you play games, but that's why I play games. I play to have fun. Now, if it happens to be exciting, interesting, thought-provoking, all of that sort of good stuff, then, hey, don't get me wrong, I'm all for that. And, I mean, one of my favorite games from the last couple of years was the original BioShock. Holy cow, man. That game was awesome. At the end of the day, though, I'm looking to have fun. And that right there, that's fun. I just burned up a couple of spiders without ever attacking them. I find that to be a little bit hilarious. So, let's go ahead and get this next guy. So, let's see. He's approaching over there. I'm just going to move up right about here because I'm not entirely sure what his range is, but I think he's going to get close enough that, hey, look at that. I can go ahead and attack him across the trap because I have a spear that gives me enhanced range. Again, cool stuff like that. Digging that. Okay, so going to continue moving on through this dungeon here. Let's go ahead and get this box out of the way. Now, one thing I haven't really gone into, and if you were paying attention, you saw in one of the tutorial messages or tutorial windows that there is a right-click menu, and when you do that, all sorts of options become available. At this point in the game, not a whole lot is available, and, well, for this particular dungeon, there's not a whole lot of point to go into some of those options and try to use them, but I will show you just to give you an idea of what I'm talking about here. So when you right-click on the screen, you're going to get a menu that gives you essentially different things like switching weapons. I think that's going to be switching armor. This is your end turn. This is your wait button. I believe these are for kind of buffs. And then you have up here your attack. That's pretty straightforward. And then use. That's more for interacting with something on the dungeon. And of course, you can click it, left click it without ever having to go through the right click menu. So that's not necessarily a requirement. Then you also have your spell options over here. These are your attack spells. Those are your defense spells. And the one I ignored, which you might notice is over here, is cover. When you use that one, you can actually duck behind things in the dungeon. So these crates that I've been destroying, you can duck behind them, and all of a sudden, Cassia here is the same height as the crate, which means, assuming that whoever is attacking her is not taller than, well, not significantly taller, then she can actually use those crates as a bit of protection. Again, more tactical stuff. Really enjoy that sort of thing because, hey, you know, that's kind of what these games are about. It's just about going in, figuring out the best way to pitch your battles, and go to town on it. Now, I'm going to kind of have a little bit of fun here, and I'm going to hit the spider behind this one because, again, I'm kind of using my turns here, such that I was able to do that at the end of my previous turn, and I'm just going to go ahead and back up and let this guy get closer, and he's not going to do anything because he has reached his maximum movement because I've paid close enough attention that I know 4 spots is the range of his attack. So I'll go ahead and move back here. That gets me at the maximum of my attacking zone. He'll get close. And once again, I'm going to dispatch another spider without getting touched because I am, well, maybe not abusing the system, but definitely enjoying how it works. So I'm just going to go ahead and blaze through the rest of this particular battle, and then we'll rejoin at the end. And she almost fell. Okay, so pretty much at the end of the battle here, about to get the wrap up in terms of more AP and some items from opening a couple of chests along the way. And I just kind of thought I would get into just a little bit more of what I'm liking, what I'm not liking about the game, just to give you a bit of an idea, perhaps, of some things you can compare to. I will say the more I play the game, and I have a couple hours into the game at this point, and just to clarify here, I'm only showing you the tutorial areas because I don't want to spoil too much. I don't want to risk playing through some things and kind of ruining something because, well, that would really, really stink and I'd feel like a complete heel for doing that. But the more I play the game and the more I understand it, the better feeling I get about the game. It's not... I don't know, it's not that it's not accessible, it's that not everything is obvious. And I don't know if that's a good thing, if that's a bad thing, if it's anything actually. But it's something that I have to mention because I'd be lying if I didn't. Now, having said that, like I said, the more I play, the more I'm enjoying it. Now that I have a better feeling for how the game works, how the system works, it makes a little more sense to me, and I'm definitely enjoying some of the more tactical aspects. And yes, I know I keep saying tactical and strategic, and all I've really done at this point is just walk around and take advantage of a couple of traps on the map and take advantage of action points. But, you know, at the end of the day, isn't that kind of the, I don't know, the absolute bare basics of strategy and tactics? You want to kind of control the battlefield. You want to pick where you're having your battles. Those are the things that in a lot of the games today you can't necessarily do. I mean, you can kind of do that in Diablo 3, but not really. I mean, it's a game that's meant about just blasting stuff as quickly as you possibly can. That's not the point of the game. This is definitely a more thoughtful, slower paced game that you want to just get a nice big old cup of tea and just kind of sit down and really get into and enjoy. Now, while that is all well and good, I will say thus far, and again, I'm only showing you the tutorial, but the game does seem a little bit linear. The devs say that choices you make in the game do affect things as you go, and it's obviously way too early to make any judgment based on what I have seen, how true that is. But at this point, everything does feel a little linear, also in part because of how this is kind of working. I'm just kind of in a spot and I'm clicking on things and kind of interacting. I'm not moving around, I'm not walking around, and again, I'm sure this will all change because this is a tutorial area, but it does kind of leave a bit of a weird feeling, a kind of a strange taste in my mouth about how this is all working. It's just an interesting way to do a tutorial, and maybe that's part of the issue, is it just feels different to me than other games, especially other games I'm kind of playing at the moment. Now, something else just to kind of point out, and this isn't necessarily a bad thing, I just don't know what to make of all of this stuff here. I kind of clicked around and showed you this earlier, just when I was really showing you all the text, but there's a lot of things going on here. You have weapon talents, you have regular talents, you have spells, you have special maneuvers, you have special abilities. What are special maneuvers versus special abilities? Well, these are actually things that you kind of do. These are, I think, more passive things. So it's kind of stuff like that where it's not entirely clear, just because I'm not familiar with the system, that it feels a little overwhelming. However, I got to counter that and say, all you have to do is mouse over it, and it kind of tells you what's going on. Now, that doesn't mean that anything and everything is useful, and I could point to way too many games to underscore that point, but just kind of know that the game does seem to have your back on that. I appreciate that because, as I've kind of said a couple times, I am new to this game. I am new to this series, so that it has all of this information, I do appreciate that. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up my playthrough at this point right here, and I'm going to suggest you check out the description at the bottom of the video, because there's going to be some additional stuff that you might want to look into there in terms of, again, system information, some links, just kind of some useful stuff. And I'm just going to kind of leave you with the suggestion of, if this looks like a game that you might enjoy, definitely go check it out. And if you're not sure, and even if you do think you will enjoy it, you know, it doesn't hurt to check out some Let's Plays, see what people are doing, get their kind of thoughts on it, and really see what the game looks like when someone other than a complete and total newbie is playing. And then you can just kind of figure out from there if that's the kind of game you want to go with. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and call it right here. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. I don't necessarily have all the answers. I don't claim to have all the answers, but I will do my best to try and answer what sort of questions you do have, just because I know it's always helpful to be able to ask and kind of get some ideas from folks about what's going on in a game. So again, questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, check out some links and other helpful information in the description. And until the next time, thanks for watching. See you later.